On this very broadcast, exactly 1 week ago, we challenged a far-right Republican lawmaker from Tennessee to defend an idea that has deeply offended many Americans. The proposal, if you really want to call it that, was to cut public assistance to poor families by 30% if the children of those families were having trouble at school. The author of this risible nonsense is State Senator Stacey Campfield, a simple man who specialises in stigmatising gay people when he isn't busy stealing bread from the mouths of little children. The House Democratic chair in Tennessee, Mike Turner, has called your proposal, and I'm quoting him, bigotry at its best. Do you have a better description for your proposal than that? Bigotry at its best.
I call it parental involvement at its highest level.
Now, you might think that, despite his robust defence on this broadcast, he might be a little more gracious when faced with a child from his state, an 8-year-old girl no less, who's anxious that his proposal will mean no more electricity in her home. You might think that, but take a look at this video from the Tennessean newspaper.
Have a nice day. You have something to say, isn't there? You are so weak to not listen to what's going on.
Well, I wouldn't, as long as the parent shows up to school and even goes to 2 parent-teacher conferences, and they're exempt.
Aamira, what are you worried about?
Well, that won't happen as long as you have a decent parent who's willing to show up at 2 conferences. Excuse me, hang on here.
What about middle-class children? I think we want a little bit of it here.
Yeah, I'm sure you want the props.
And we believe you when you refer to a child as a prop. That is offensive, Senator Campfield.
Joining us now is my colleague Torre, co-host of The Cycle, and MSNBC contributor Jonathan Capehart of The Washington Post. I'd just like to note for our viewers, and you, Jonathan, that you can see the full video of this exchange, if that's what you want to call it, on the website for The Tennessean. It is very long. We didn't have the time to show it, but John, you've had the chance to watch the entire thing. Is that how elected officials are supposed to respond to members of the public, especially children?
Well, no. A more savvy public official would have listened to the little girl, would have listened to the adults who were with her, would have shown some empathy and some understanding, and not tried to evade questioning and cameras with the old politician ducking into an elevator to escape scrutiny play that he showed there.
Yeah, he was pretty fast, wasn't he? Torre, there is a happy ending to this story because Senator Campfield has now withdrawn his lamentable bill because he couldn't get enough support from Republicans. In the words of the Republican leader in the state Senate, and I'm quoting, you can say that withholding the money from the parents doesn't harm the child, but you're fooling yourself. Not to worry, though, he's decided he's going to bring it back soon. That's persistence.
Well, there you go. I mean, look, if it was this easy to get people to back off of bad bills that we should employ more kids as lobbyists, that might not be a bad idea.
Not a bad idea.
But he makes it seem like, well, if you just show up to 2 parent-teacher conferences, that's all you have to do, and you're exempt. And if you can't do that, you are not a decent person. This is a misunderstanding of the lives of many poor people. I've talked to principals who say, well, why can't Johnny's parents show up for any of these meetings?
Because they're doing 2 jobs.
Because they're
working 18 hours a day.
Absolutely, and they can't just take off from their job to go to these sort of events, even though they want to. And this whole idea of tying a child's, how they do in school, it makes the child like a worker in the family. Can you imagine the family dynamics when you bring home your grades and it's like, well, you didn't do so well here, we're mad at you, or we need to force you to do better. There's a lot of reasons why the kids aren't doing better. Might have something to do with the teachers, might have something to do with nutrition, might be a holistic approach, and sort of making them into little workers is not the answer.
Jonathan, I just want to note that this little girl, 8-year-old Aamira Fetuga, was being cheered on by a choir of 60 people. Some of them were clergy. They were singing, "Jesus loves the little children." And it's giving me some faith that David can indeed triumph over Goliath. Does it make you feel the same way?
Well, certainly. What it shows me, Martin, is that people, and the American people in this particular case, folks in Tennessee, aren't going to sit back and let some wackadoodle member of their state legislature propose all sorts of draconian pieces of legislation that have impact on real people. They're just not going to sit back and let that happen. Pretend like this guy can't possibly be serious. They're taking folks like him seriously, and they're challenging them, which is exactly what they should do.
Absolutely.